Did you know the secret to making more money from your email list is actually writing less? I used to send emails that averaged a word count of around 1,200 words, and I still struggled to make consistent sales. And when I sent these long emails, I got crickets as a response. But then one day, I wrote an email that was only 19 words long, and it earned over $1,000 in 24 hours. So in this video, I'm going to show you exactly what I wrote in this 19-word email, what I did in this email that led to making a bunch of sales, and I'll even show you exactly how to do this yourself. But before I break down these 19 words and then show you how it brought in all these sales, first, I want to explain the real reason most emails aren't making money. And it's not your offer, it's not your subject line, but the real reason is something that nobody talks about. The reason is that most people treat email marketing like a high school essay, and believe me, I did the same thing. Before I wrote a single email, I would do hours of research scrolling through Reddit threads, Facebook groups, Amazon book reviews, just to get the idea. Then I'd spend more time trying to write a subject line, hooks, a value, a story, proof, and a call to action, which was pretty exhausting. And that's before I even started editing. And it only got worse from there because I'd spent hours bending my spine backwards to write the perfect email, which would usually result in like 1,200 to 1,500 words. And again, it didn't get any sales. I'd look at myself in the mirror and I'd be like, "You dumb neck tattooed man, why can't you make sales from your email list?" Well, that's because I was doing what all of these gurus online were saying, which was to provide as much value as possible, yet I was struggling to buy dog food as a result. So this is actually one of the best things that ever happened to me, and I'll explain why. Because eventually I came across a piece of advice from the famous author Tim Ferriss that made me take a completely different approach to my email marketing. Tim suggested asking yourself, what if you did the opposite for 48 hours? And so I put on my thinking cap, went for a walk, and I put this advice to the test. I thought, what if I was just lazy with sending emails? What if I sent the shortest email I possibly could? But when I wrote this 19-word email, and I'll be honest, I was as nervous as a monkey in a laboratory. Why? Because if you take a look at this email that says the best investment I made in 2023, the Copy Hour course from Derek Johansson with a screenshot of the course dashboard and a link to buy, it's pretty ugly, right? And there's not a lot of persuasion happening. But this email made over $1,000 in a day with a tiny list of a few thousand people at the time. So what changed, and why did 19 words beat over 1,200? Well, here's the dirty little secret no one tells you about email marketing. The words in your email are the least important part of whether someone buys. Now, before you throw rocks at me and call me stupid, I'll explain myself. You see, the results all start with an old direct mail rule called the 40-40-20 rule. 40% of your success comes from who is on your list, your audience, and your relationship with them. The other 40% comes from your offer, what you're selling, the promise, or the problem you're solving, and only 20% is the copy, aka the words in your email, because the relationship with your reader is the most important aspect of your marketing. So that 19-word email, the email didn't work because the words were magic and, I was an elite copywriter. The email worked because I'd spent months already building trust and relationships to my email list by emailing them every day. So the email was just the trigger. The biggest lesson you need to know in email marketing is that the relationships are what do the selling. Never forget that. So now that you understand that big point, let me go to point 2, and that's the Great Trust Recession. So here's the problem that's taking over the internet and could be destroying your sales. We're in what I call the Great Trust Recession. Everyone has been burned by internet marketers, fake gurus, overhyped launches, AI-generated slop filling your inbox with offers for pools that you don't really need or children's toys even though you don't have kids. Anyway, people just don't trust what they see on the internet nowadays. AI has just changed everything. It's flooded every channel with polished, professional, surface level content, and it all just blends into a mush that sounds the same. So when everything looks the same in marketing, nothing is going to get read, and you need to use this next trick to cut through the noise. And that's point 3, and I call it the text from a friend framework. The point here is the moment it feels like you're writing to a crowd, you've already lost. But when you focus on a single person and treat them like a friend, you can send emails that resonate without hundreds of words. So here's how you can get started doing this today. First, you need to understand that your brain can't write to 1,000 people at a time. It's too abstract. When you think of 1,000 people your imagination just turns into mashed potatoes and you just start getting confused and not making sense. But when your brain can focus on one person sitting across from you, it changes everything. Russell Brunson, the famous internet internet marketer who basically invented funnels, keeps a photo of a random person on his desk that's his avatar. And you can do the same. This could be an image of, from Google Images, a drawing, a cartoon. It could be a teddy bear. That doesn't really matter. But what does matter is that when you write, you're writing to one person, a friend. And whatever you do, avoid starting with, "Dear subscriber, hey everyone, hey friend." This immediately destroys the personal aspect of your emails. And without the picture, you're going to write something like, "Many entrepreneurs struggle with email marketing, could benefit from these strategies." But when you have the picture across from you, you'll write something that's a lot more personal, like this. "Look, I know your pain right now. You're sitting at your desk, banging your head against the wall, and you're tired of staring at that godforsaken blank screen. But I just bought this great swipe file with hundreds of proven ideas, so I never forget what to write." So the first example you see sounds a lot like a press release. It's just targeting everyone, kind of like the news. But the other one sounds like you're a friend sliding to the DMs. And that's the magic of having this photo. The photo tricks your brain into conversation mode instead of broadcast mode. So you don't need a photo specifically. Some people just use a past client's face. Some imagine their younger selves when they're writing. Whatever works best for you, but just keep that one person in mind and keep them as a friend. Now, this brings me to step 2, which is to show receipts, not recommendations. So chew on this for a second. How many recommendations do you see per day? Well, I'll tell you what I see. Spotify recommends me music. Social media recommends me content. Ads recommend me products. And in 2026, you just can't escape promoted recommendations. It's so annoying. I mean, on Spotify, I have a robot that's telling me to listen to robot generated music. Like, no thanks. But the inbox doesn't have this algorithm shoving recommendations down your throat. And the ads that are sleazy or the promotions that you don't need, well, you guessed it, they go in the promotions tab. And you need to use this filter as your advantage. Here's why. When you've built trust with your list and you show a receipt of your purchase and share the results that you got from that purchase, you're going to melt skepticism in as few words as possible. You're not an affiliate. You're a friend saying, "Hey, I just tried this thing and it worked. Here's the proof. Thought you'd want to know." And that's exactly what I did in this 19-word email. Now, let's hit step 3, and that's lead with the investment frame. Notice how I didn't say, "Buy this course." I said the best investment I made in 2023. The difference dives deep into psychology because words are more powerful than you think. The word buy triggers the feeling of loss, and humans hate losing more than they love winning. But the word investment triggers the feeling of gain. Your brain thinks, okay, my money's going to come back with interest. And step 4 is just to keep it short. 19 words, a screenshot, and a link. But I just want to give you a quick warning before you just start sending tons of these emails. People are smart. Don't abuse this style. If you're sending proof screenshots every day or even every few weeks, your list is going to catch on and be like, this guy's just trying to grab money. Use this strategy wisely and be a decent person about it. Don't sell things you wouldn't actually sell to your mother. But before you write another email, I want you to ask yourself these 2 questions. 1, does my list trust me? If you only sent pitches and promotions and you've never even emailed your list, the answer is going to be no. And for question number 2 is this the right offer for this audience? Because the best copy in the world can't save a bad offer sent to people. But how do you balance relationship building with sales, right? If you get this wrong, you'll never make money because you focus too much on providing value, or you'll sell too much and your subscribers disappear. But after sending thousands of emails for myself and clients over the last 4 to 5 years, I found the perfect ratio for providing value and maximizing sales while minimizing unsubscribes and spam complaints. And that starts with point number 4, which I call the 4-to-1 ratio. For every email that asks for something like a click, a sale, you send 4 emails that give in the form of value or entertainment. But I don't do this by sending 4 emails a day and then 1 sales email. It just doesn't work. What I found is I send 4 weeks worth of value emails and then 1 week of hardcore sales emails with usually 2 to 3 emails per day. So here's what the schedule looks like so you can get the same results. Week one, I provide value Monday through Friday. And usually what I do is I send emails that solve a problem my offer solves, right? So I'm basically warming people up to this. I'm providing them value. I'm telling them how to solve this problem. And an example would be 5 different ways to fix their biggest pain point. This does 2 things, right? So first, it positions you as a person who understands your audience and understands their problem. Second, some people will try your free advice, realize it's harder than they thought, and want the shortcut. So you're planting the seeds for the future sale, right? Week 2 is going to be value again, Monday through Friday. Week 2, I just share stories, my personal stories of how I struggled with a problem, how I tried to solve this problem and failed, what breakthroughs I had. And I also share horror stories of the cost of inaction, which is very powerful, right? Tell people what happens if they don't sell a problem. And what happens here is people don't buy from experts. They just buy from people they relate to. So when you share your mess, it's going to make your reader think, hey, this guy gets it, right? And that's the most important thing you can do. So stories build the connections faster than any tips are. So lean into storytelling. Week 3 is going to be basically stacking proof with data, research, studies, while answering common objections, right? So now I'm getting more logical, which segues into week 4, and that is going to be the last value week. And this is where I go hard in the paint with case studies, testimonials, screenshots, and results. I want to provide value while evoking the fear of missing out. When people see other people getting results, people that are like them, they want the same results. And if they're not getting them, they're going to feel like they're missing out from the crowd, which is the perfect transition into week 5, which is Monday through Friday. I have a sales campaign where I just send 2 emails promoting the offer using emotion, logic, and then urgency at the end. So now you know how to build trust and cash in on short emails by building these relationships. I've shown you the value equation and everything else like that. But none of this matters if you don't have an email list in the first place. And most people are building their list completely wrong. They're bribing strangers on social media, free PDFs, and no one's ever going to read them. They collect emails from people who will never buy, and then dead leads eventually destroy your deliverability and waste your time. So if you want to build an email list that actually makes you money, watch this video next. I'll give you 11 ways to do that.